This episode was originally aired on October 7, 2014. Episode 1, The All Tech Network. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to All Tech. I'm your host, Mikey, and if you're looking for everything and anything tech-related, you can find it right here on All Tech Radio. Go ahead and kick things off and just let everybody know that we're looking for someone to donate their time that is a good public speaker, and I guess you would say tech-savvy. We need a co-host. We need someone that I can sit here and bullshit with, and because I want this to be more than just a podcast. More or less, this is meant to be fun, and it's something I love to do. So I would love for somebody to join me via Hangout, on air, or Skype, whatever it be. So if you're interested, drop a line in the comments, or you can actually email us at alltechpodcast@outlook.com. And on to more interesting subjects. I was cruising around on Engadget today, my daily thing. I'm always surfing the net for tech-related news and just interesting shit to talk about on the show. And evidently, Mikey can't talk today. But Facebook is supposedly working on a mobile app for an anonymity. I cannot say that word ever. Anonymity. Blah. I think you get the point. But, we're going to press on here since I can't speak to... Excuse me. And, that got me thinking. We all know that Facebook's got this really strict real name thing going on lately. You can't put anything that isn't or would not be considered your real name. You can't go on there and put Juicy Defender as your name, because Facebook's going to look at you and say, hey, man, that's not your real name. And to be on Facebook, you got to use your real name. Well, some people don't want to use their real name online. We were always told when we were younger, don't ever give anybody your real name online. And, 20 years later, we're pasting our names all over Facebook and putting pictures up of ourselves and shit. We should be able to name ourselves whatever we want to. That brings me back to like the Yahoo chat days. Back in the day, I had a name called Sexy Dude 554. Typical little 12-year-old squeaker online. but I just don't understand why they're forcing us to do what we were taught not to do when we were younger. Or anyways, that was the case for me. My parents were always stressing, hey, Mikey, don't put your real name online. Don't tell anybody what your real name is or where you live. And now you get on Facebook and people are posting their addresses, checking in at fucking Wendy's and McDonald's, and, just all sorts of shit. That got me thinking about Facebook's other drama on the internet lately, if you will. The whole Facebook Messenger thing. One day you get on your Facebook app and go to check your inbox, and bam, Facebook is telling you, you can't do this no more. You've got to go install another app on your phone to be able to check your Facebook messages. To me, it doesn't make sense. If I was an app developer, I would want all of my content to come from one app. If you got messages, you can go to your messages in your app or whatever the hell you want. So, everybody goes to install this Facebook Messenger thing, and the first thing that it tells you, when you go to install an app on Android, it'll give you a list of all of the stuff it has to have access to. Well, to me, it doesn't make sense to is why it needs all of it. If someone can help explain me, let me know. I'd be more than happy to bring you on the show and let you hash it out with me or give your opinions. But I brought up the list here on my phone, and here's a list of everything it needs: identity, contacts and calendars, locations, SMS, phone, photos, media files. That's normal. Handset needs access to that. Camera, microphone, camera and microphone, Wi-Fi connection information. That's normal. And then this one I don't really understand at all. Your device ID and your call information. Why do they need access to who you're talking to? That's what doesn't make sense to me. I really think it was a really bad idea for Facebook to go this way. Maybe it'll work for them. I couldn't tell you. I can't foresee the future. God, I wish I could foresee my future. But I just don't agree with it. Now the next big news thing I have, it's kind of old, but I think it's funny that Samsung is slamming Apple again, considering the whole Apple and fucking Samsung thing in the courts and shit. It's back and forth, back and forth. So Samsung fired some shots today, and I'm actually going to play you a clip here from a YouTube ad that I had been seeing a lot. So I know if anybody uses YouTube on here, they've probably seen the ad, and we'll just let you listen to it. Here you go.
When the Galaxy Note launched in 2011, it was ahead of its time. And naturally, when things are new and different, sometimes people aren't ready for them. Experts saw the bigger screen and were like, "You look like you're talking into a piece of toast." The Note is an unwieldy beast. Now it's not being dismissed by competitors. It's being imitated. Thing is, the Note is more than big. It's about being more productive. Wait for it. I like that part. More innovative. Oh, cool. More fun. Today, people are saying, is it just me or does the new iPhone 6 look like a Samsung Galaxy Note 2 from 2012? It's cute how Apple thinks their phablet is a fresh idea when Samsung Mobile has been excelling at them for years already. Hashtag next big thing. The new Samsung Galaxy Note.
This ad cracks me up every time. It looks like you're talking into a piece of toast, man. And I remember when the really big phones started coming out, in particular when the Galaxy Note first came out. It was the biggest of its kind. And there was a lot of people that I knew that used to judge phones like that. I always thought, hey, it's a little big, but once I got a hold of one, I fell in love with it, and I think most people that do use really big phones fall in love, in particular people with big hands like me. It feels normal to hold a big phone anymore. I had the Note 2 for a while. Funny story about the Note 2. 3 hours after I got it, I cracked the screen. And now I've got the LG Optimus G Pro, which is still a pretty good-sized phone. And the other day I picked up my mom's iPhone, and I was like, holy crap. Those few inches, or even half inches, make a huge difference when you're holding the phone in your hand. Anybody hit Windows 8? Because I know I sure do. And, it's not that it's a horrible operating system. It's really good and sound underneath the hood. It's the UI that I don't like. And when it comes to Windows, you're kind of stuck with what you're given, unlike, Linux, where you can install whatever window manager you want that's out there. Windows 8, they did something that really took everybody by surprise. They pulled the start bar. They're trying to revolve around this, the Windows Phone type UI. You got the big boxes and all the tiles. You all want tiles. No, we don't, man. We hate tiles. We don't want the tiles. Well, too bad. You're getting them. Well, Windows 9 is just around the corner. It's supposed to come out in 2015, and supposedly they're bringing back the start bar. But the sad part is there's going to be tiles on your fucking start bar. We don't want tiles. On to more exciting news. Anybody that's a Sony fan, in particular a PlayStation fan, PlayStation's coming out with a new device. In fact, not even a week away, October 14th. It's called Sony PlayStation TV. And we're all super excited about that, or at least I am. I've been a PlayStation fan since the beginning. You know, I had the Sony PlayStation 1, one of my favorite systems that I've ever had, next to the Nintendo 64. Yeah, I remember playing Siphon Filter all the time. My third person shooter out there, and it still is to this day. And then I got my PlayStation 2, and man, it was just fucking awesome. And when the PlayStation 3 came out, I flipped my lid. But by that point, I had started playing with Xboxes too, so I became greedy, and I like both now. You know, I've got one of both, and I plan on getting one of both of the next gen ones. You know, gotta love it. I remember when everybody thought that the next Xbox was gonna be called the Xbox 720, and not Xbox One. You know, we went from Xbox 360 to Xbox One because we're cool like that.
It's time.
Onward, my minion. Anyways, on to the next subject. We got the app of the week here, and I find these apps of the day by just kind of scrolling on the Android store for cool apps that are useful and complete, not laggy, not bugged out, and shit like that to bring to the show. And I'd love to hear from you all. So if you have any apps that you prefer, or you think you can't live without on Android, and you think it's a must-have for everybody, shoot us an email. It's alltechpodcast@outlook.com. The app of the week is Droid Cam X Pro. I say the Pro version because the Lite version has some useful features that are actually turned off. Droid Cam X Pro turns your cell phone into a webcam via USB, wireless, Bluetooth, and my favorite one is most definitely by wireless, because you can turn your phone into an IP camera and take it wherever you want while still connected to the computer. As long as you're on that wireless network, and it's in range, you could go do a fucking cooking video with this. You know, just set it up to record on your computer and take your phone off and go at it. You got the footage you need, and you don't have to transfer it. You know, you can go straight, well, not even straight from the phone. You know, you use the camera, but it's saved on your computer already. You don't have to plug your USB cord into your phone, plug it into your computer, and transfer the video file over your computer if you want to keep it, because some people still do that for some reason. But yeah, it's just a useful app. The Lite version, you can't zoom, and you can't change the exposure, and you can't use the backlight, which is pretty useful too if you're recording in a darker setting. I'm going to leave you guys with a tip for any of you Windows users when it comes to preventing malware and viruses. I read somewhere that in a study, 94% of malware attacks can be prevented by not using an account with administrator rights on a daily basis. So if you're using an administrator account, it would be wise to go to your user control panel and create just a standard user account, and start using that instead. When you use an administrative account, all the rights that you have as an administrator, logged in as an administrator, the malware automatically gets those rights. So if you're using a standard user account, the malware can't just install itself automatically. When it tries to install itself, it's going to hit a wall saying, "Whoa, you don't have administrative rights, so we can't do this. You know, you got to have administrative rights." It'll more or less ask you if you want to install the malware. And I've actually witnessed this firsthand. I personally used to use administrative accounts all the time, and that's funny being said that I'm what people would call a techno nerd. Not a techno nerd, but a tech guru, so-called. But, you know, I'm not really a huge Windows fan due to the vast majority of malicious stuff that's out there for Windows, so I more or less stick to Linux. Anyways, that's all the time we have.